Hello and welcome back to Ball Blab from our college dorms. I'm Nate here with Jason doing this remotely.
Yes, sir. Yeah, a little bit of a different setup, but college is great, but we got to get this episode out in light of big news in the Red Sox world. Nate, take it away.
Yeah, Chaim Bloom, he has been fired at just about the same time as Dave Dombrowski was fired. I mean, I think it's almost been exactly 4 years since the day that Dombrowski was fired. It's kind of crazy. I believe Bloom got fired yesterday, which was September 14th. I think Dombrowski wasn't quite the 14th, but he was like the 10th or the 11th, maybe.
Yeah,
or
I was going to say Bloom was
that.
a little bit later. Bloom was a little bit later, but it was around the same time, like at the end of the season where the team wasn't going to make the playoffs. And it was clear a new voice was needed in the front office. And, let's dive into it right now, right? It's interesting because were they going to let him spend this offseason, or were they not going to allow him to do anything this offseason? And it goes to show that maybe his hands weren't tied, because that was a theory I had before. Like, were Chaim Bloom's hands tied, and was that why he was getting a bunch of I'll say it, a bunch of shit from the fans? Were his hands tied? This decision leads me to believe no. And
what do you
now
mean
we're
hands
getting
tied exactly? Sorry.
hands tied. I mean, like, ownership saying, oh, you can't spend big on big free agents. You can't,
Okay.
like, basically saying, yeah, you can't spend, you can't get this guy, you can't get that guy. This guy's too expensive. It goes to show that that was probably not the case. And at the end of the day, it doesn't look good on your resume when you finish in last place, presumptively maybe 3 out of your 4 years as president of baseball operations. This year is either going to be 4th or 5th, but it's not going to look good, and that's probably why the Red Sox wanted to move on from him, because this offseason there are a bunch of free agents, a lot of free agents starting pitching, and that's the biggest need of this ball club. And they probably weren't confident. They, as in like ownership and higher ups, were probably not confident that Chaim Bloom could pull the trigger on some free agents or any trades, quite frankly, because now there are reports that Chaim Bloom could have made several moves at the deadline. It was leaked. A lot of these moves were leaked. We'll get into it later, but Chaim Bloom did not pull the trigger because he was too conservative on some players and ultimately didn't want to upset the fan base.
Yeah. Yeah. Great points there, Jason. Currently, right now, the Red Sox are 74 and 73. They are tied exactly with the Yankees for last place. It's funny. My move-in day for college, I go to Endicott College here in Beverly, Jason, Syracuse University, Syracuse. But anyway, my move-in day was August 26th. They won that day. But since that date of August 26th, since I've basically been here at college, their record has been 6-12. And there really hasn't been any BS recovery like they've done all year. They've just been bad. I think they had a little 3-game winning streak where they took 2 out of 3 against Kansas City, but that's been it. And come on, it's Kansas City. That's a bare minimum. Besides,
and you lost the first game by double digits.
Yeah, they lost the first game by double digits.
Which is pathetic, by the way.
Count. Oh, yeah, awful. Like, I think them taking 2 out of 3 barely makes up for it. I think that's the only series they've won since I've gotten to college anyway, because they dropped 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers. Then they got swept by the Astros, and I think when they got swept by the Astros, that was when I was like, okay, they're done, because I think by then they were 6 games out, and also taking a look at the wild card standings, they're currently tied with the Yankees, thanks to them losing 3 out of 4 to a team that they've dominated all year, and for being 7.5 out of the 3rd wild card that is held by the Seattle Mariners right now. And yeah, I mean, this team has truly been sinking. They've really sunk to rock bottom at this point. And yeah, I think it makes perfect sense for the GM to be gone.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. The one thing that I'm very curious to find out is what they're going to do with Cora, because I don't think Cora's job's safe either. No. Because I mean, ownership loves Cora. Sam Kennedy loves Cora. They all love Cora. That's why they ultimately brought him back. if they're going to bring a new GM or president of baseball ops, why won't they let him choose the guy to manage, right? Because they didn't let Chaim Bloom do it, and look what happened.
Hmm.
They were very disconnected, and
That that's a good point you're bringing up. Very good
yeah,
point.
they clearly were not on the same page throughout since 2021, right? They were not on the same page. So if the new GM brings in a new manager, they'll be on the same page, and hopefully they'll result in a better product on the field and better reaction off the field. And I think we just need a new coaching staff because
Yes.
there have been a lot of mental mistakes. There have been
Oh
a
my
lot.
God, it's
There have been
brutal.
a lot of errors.
Oh,
I think a lot of it to blame is coaching.
yeah.
I think a lot of it goes into like how they prepare for games in spring training. I think a lot of it is to like third base coach. I think it's time to move on from Fabulous. He's been with the organization for years and years and years. I think he used to be like the manager of the Greenbrill Drive at
What
one
is the
point.
Greenville Drive?
But at the time, they were like the A affiliate. They were the A affiliate of the Red Sox because they used to
Oh,
remember how it used to be 3A.
yeah.
They used to have
Okay.
three. It used to
Great.
go Lowell. Well, actually, funny you bring it up. It used to go Lowell, Greenville, Salem. Now it's Salem, Greenville, Portland's double A.
Yeah.
So yeah, he used to be the manager of the Drive, the Greenville Drive,
Yes.
and I think it's time you move on from him. And
Yeah.
I think you need a complete new voice. I think you need new coaches. I think if you do that and you get a couple free agents, if you get a front end starter, you trade some of your prospects. And that's another thing about Chaim Bloom. Chaim Bloom was not able to identify
He
the
was a
prospects.
prospect hoarder. He was a
Yes,
prospect
like
hoarder.
Ben
I get
Sherrington.
it's to a ridiculous extent. I get having a good farm system and looking at what Dombrowski did, but you can't hoard. I mean, you see it in real life. Hoarding is a problem. Like people who hoard are seen as crazy. And I think it's crazy for Chaim Bloom to hoard these prospects and just completely immobilize them. And it's just bad. It's really bad.
Yeah, and what I was getting to before, I think Chaim Bloom is not he was not able to identify the prospects versus the suspects, right? He was just
Yeah.
hoarding all of them,
Oh yes,
and
he
a
was
lot of
being
it.
literally too cautious.
Ben Sherrington, he was
Here's
a
the
Ben
problem.
Sherrington. He was very, but he was. I wouldn't say a poor version's Ben Sherrington. Ben Sherrington actually the biggest difference is Charrington spent the money on B level guys, right? Because in 2020, no, not 2025, 2015, he got Hanley Ramirez and Pablo Sandoval while the young core was developing to have veteran guys alongside him. 2013, they did the same thing. Charrington signed a bunch of B level guys while they were in a rebuild so they can get that veteran leadership. They signed like what, Johnny Gomes, Shane Victorino, Mike Napoli, Ryan Dempster, you know, yada yada yada, right? They signed them all those guys, and they won the World Series, which was probably the worst thing I think that could have happened to them at that point because they're still in a rebuild. But look,
Yeah.
I think it goes to show that
Championships with a
it's time.
championship
The quote unquote rebuild right now is over, and they want someone who not necessarily a Dave Dombrowski voice, but someone who has that reputation. But
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see what type of voice they bring in because I could see them bringing in someone like Dave Dombrowski. I could also see them trying to go for another nerd. That's what
Mm-hmm.
worries me. Like, what's their direction? If it's to get another nerd, then what the hell are we doing?
Yeah. Okay.
I
Look,
want someone who's going to identify the prospects in the minor leagues and trade the suspects.
it's all about balance. Really, it's all about balance. It's a guy who can get a bit of both sides, like with anything, because I feel like you need both. You need a guy who can develop from within. Developing from within is very important. Any organization, especially baseball, where you have an entire underground farm system. But you need to be able to identify the talent at the major league level because at the end of the day, that's the most important and that's what everybody cares about. It
That's what's
really
getting
is.
assessed at the end
So,
of the day.
so,
Exactly.
I mean,
Not
and I
how
feel like
well.
we gotta pull ourselves a bit more to the direction of maybe of a Dombrowski because, like, again, I feel like just getting another nerd, complete nerd, like, what are we doing here? We need a guy who has a bit more of a balance, maybe leans a bit more and on in terms of Dombrowski, and that I definitely think is the voice that we need. Like, and also I'm curious, what even is our GM situation? Is it just some type of title for like a bunch of other guys that we don't know like last time? Because I think I remember when Dombrowski got fired, like it was just like some weird group of part of the organization that was the GM, but obviously doing nothing. Do you have any idea who our GM is right now?
Right now, there's no G because remember, Chaim Bloom was the president of baseball operations, not the GM. That was,
but that's basically
BOH also got fired.
Wait, who's BOH?
Brian O'Halloran.
Oh, was he the assistant?
He does nothing. He does nothing.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
He got fired. He got offered.
Why I don't even know
offered another position. He got offered, and we don't know whether he accepted the role or not yet. But we have no GM or no president of baseball ops right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's completely vacant.
Yeah,
I want them also to get rid of Cora personally.
Yeah,
Cora's great. He's a great players manager. He's done great things for us. He won the World Series in 2018, but I think it's time we move on. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is what you said about getting a new coaching staff. It's a thought I've had for a while. I think we need a whole new regime. I really do, because just some of the flaws and the constant blunders on with this team on the bases and the defense, it just really comes down to coaching, and I feel like we need a whole new setup for that. So, yeah, I definitely think if Chaim Bloom's going to go, and then I definitely think that whoever steps in for him should decide who manages. And
absolutely, I think it's a mistake if ownership tells him who the manager is. I think it's a huge mistake. It proved to be a big mistake under Chaim. Unless, even if the guy wants Cora, even if the guy is like, I want Cora, that's great, fine. But at least replace the coaching staff around him. Yeah. That's what the Yankees did with Boone. They replaced everyone around him because they had confidence in Boone. That didn't work.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, definitely at the very least a new coaching staff, because the glaring issues just keep coming up over and over again. I feel like if you thought that the 3-game winning streak against the Royals got you to say, ooh, the Red Sox are back, that loss in the second game of the race series. Keep in mind, that's the only game where I've even watched the highlights of. That's how not worth watching the Red Sox.
That's terrible.
I watched the highlights. I wanted to throw my computer out the window. Just the amount of stupid things that happened. They hit 2 guys with the bases loaded. Then they kind of pulled a comeback out of their ass because that's what they tend to always do.
Typical Red Sox bullshit.
Yep, typical Red Sox bullshit. And then, it became an unwatchable game where both teams were trying to lose. Then they took the lead, and then they gave up a 3-run home run in the bottom of the inning.
I even said, I'm like, Lau's probably going to end this game. I even said, I'm like, wow, this is typical Red Sox bullshit. I'm like, God damn it. I like that. Because remember, they were somehow only 4 games back of the third wild
again,
card.
another
like,
the Bluminati.
Somehow.
Yeah. The Bluminati, that's probably more fodder for the Bluminatis to say, the Sox are back because, they're only 4 games back.
Yeah.
But
and I want to say a general disclaimer here that, I have nothing personally against Chaim Bloom. Chaim Bloom, I've been reading articles about him. He's a great guy. He cares for his players. He went to Justin Turner's house.
Jewish, so that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow's Rosh Hashanah?
Yeah, something like that. But
he's a great guy, and he cares for his players. Seems like he stayed after and helped get trash. He shows he cares for this team, and I wish him nothing but the best in the future. And hopefully he gets a job with some other team as their president of baseball operations. His philosophy is good, but not good for Boston. That's what I'll say. It's good for a small market team, finding the diamonds in the rough, finding another man's trash is another man's treasure, turning those guys into getting the maximum value out of some players. For a small market team, that's a decent philosophy. Not for the Boston Red Sox, where you're expected to win all the time and where you're expected to spend money, which wasn't the case when Bloom. I mean, other than what? Devers, that they were constantly lowballing him. Then ownership's like, dude, you got to get up.
Yeah, I don't know about his philosophy. I do kind of get it, but I guess it's good, but I think it's a little too stubborn and kind of stuck in his own ways and not sort of willing to adjust. I think that's kind of another issue with his philosophy that I tend to have because he's always hoarding prospects, always kind of making the same type of moves over and over again. And yeah, it just maybe it can work when you have a team that's deep into rebuilding and it's in a small market, but it's not sustainable. And it just, especially in Boston, when they kind of have the pieces in some areas, they got a good hitting core and there's been some development. You just can't have a guy who just can't really make a big move to save his life.
Right. I mean, now we're having reports.
It just doesn't work, and you got to get rid of him, which I'm glad that
we have. I mean, there have been reports coming out. I'll name a couple. How do I say it? An unspecified team, a random team was an unnamed team wanted to take on the Chris Sale contract and give the Red Sox prospects, and Chaim Bloom said no because he didn't like the prospects coming back. Another report, the Red Sox would have traded Verdugo for Clark Schmidt of the Yankees, but Bloom said no.
I mean
that Verdugo one pisses me off a little bit.
I think it does
if it's true, but I have a hard time thinking that's true because the Yankees are going to have all the leverage, and there's no way they would have offered Clark Schmidt. There's just no way. There's just no way because the Red Sox had to have been shopping Verdugo. There's just no way because the Yankees have all the leverage there. No, unless the Yankees are as stupid as I think they might be. Mm-hmm. They're not stupid to say we're going to give you a young developing starter with term, with years.
Yeah.
For
right. That
1.5 year rental.
But yeah,
I have a hard time figuring that out.
Yeah, but if it's true, that would piss me off because that's exactly what we need. And Verdugo, I think, should be traded. But you're right. Like now that you've brought up the fact that we are at such an advantage. And yeah, the Yankees have all the leverage and are proceeding to give it to us. It makes no sense for that to be true.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just assuming the Yankees had the leverage. Why would the Red Sox have the leverage?
Yeah.
And that's what confuses me. But anyways, other topics. I don't know. What is this team? The team's out.
Team has had
we're gonna do a grading video later.
Streak. Sorry, what was that?
I said we're definitely doing a grading episode. We do that every year. We've done that every year.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do that. After the season's over, I'm starting to create my doc because I already have grades for players. I think honestly we could do it right now. Like I'm just gonna be real with you, Nate. Probably right now, maybe one or two players yet to be seen. Like I want to see if Yoshida makes it above 300.
Yeah.
But other than that.
What are sort of the streaks with everyone? Like who's hot and who's cold? Because again, like it's been a while. Like,
Tristan Casas.
Anyone that's on a big slump or on a big hot streak right now?
Duvall's in a major slump.
Really?
Apparently, yeah. He was like coming into game one of the doubleheader. He was like 0 for his last 17 with 14 strikeouts.
Oh, okay. It doesn't.
So he's very hot and cold. Yeah. We'll talk off season for a little bit for the amount of time we have.
Basically, no, I just want to say that they've lost 5 in a row and 4 in a row in this terrible stretch. Yeah, this is kind of the worst they've played all season in a stretch of games this big. In a stretch of at least 18 games, I definitely
can argue June. You can argue June was arguably like just as bad. Because look, I look back at the winnable games. I go back to the winnable games, and here's why
I think this streak's better because I don't think they've had they haven't had any bullshit streak that they've pulled out of their ass to even it out. All right, it's just they've been losing games and losing ground and not getting any of it back. All right, that's why I think this is worse. All right, I think on August 26th, before August 26th, the Red Sox were 7 games on August 26th. The Red Sox were 8 games above 500. Now they're 1 game above 500 and are 7.5 back. And they've had a 5-game losing streak and a 4-game losing streak, and their longest winning streak has been 3, and they've won a grand total of 1 series. So I think it's the worst.
And it goes to show you that doing nothing at the deadline makes an impact. I know look, moving
And keep in
forward,
mind
it's
another
going to be
thing.
a
Another
yeah.
thing. They lost 3 out of 4 at home to the Yankees, a team that they've dominated all year. It goes to show that, yeah,
It's
this
the battle for it's the battle for fourth place, but
yeah,
like
it's pathetic.
still, I will give. It was kind of a bullshit series too because
Why?
all the games, every game being
Yes,
played, it was a doubleheader
yeah,
both
they were
times.
both being played.
That's
Excuse.
not an
You want to
excuse.
know what
That's not an
excuses are?
excuse, right?
They're a lot like armpits. Everyone has them, and they all stink. All right. Quote to live by.
Right, and it goes to show doing nothing at the deadline and relying on injured guys. All the guys who came back, did they really make an impact? Like Trevor
Yeah.
Story, cool, defensive, cool. You
Has he
really
not
weren't
been
going to get
hitting?
much. No, hell
Like,
no.
okay,
He
he's
has
not
not been
not been
hitting.
hitting. Oh,
No,
okay,
he's
yeah.
going to stink hitting.
Hmm.
What? Let's see.
Yeah.
Tanner Houck, mid.
Yeah. Not
Whitlock
done much.
sucks.
Whitlock's been bad. Like in
Whitlock,
the
Whitlock,
bullpen.
Whitlock screwed, man. I really hope he can return. We Daniel Barded him. We tried him as a starter.
Yeah.
No, I want him back as a bullpen piece.
Yeah.
Who else? Who else was coming back from injury? Sale sucks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, well,
There
has
are
he been
no
on the
excuses.
field? Like, there hasn't been another. Okay. Has he come out of a start due to injury? I'm just curious. Has he come out of a start due to injury? Okay.
No, but they skipped over his start
Of course they did. Of course.
because his velocity is significantly down.
Yep. It's always something with him. He's never 100%. I mean, he's never
Kenley
100%
Jansen too.
healthy. Kenley Jansen. What's wrong with him?
Oh, he had COVID.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Apparently. Yeah.
Uptick. Yeah. This
No.
team.
Oh yeah. After Bernardino. Let me get
Yeah.
up some
Our Lord and
stats.
Savior. How's he?
Our Lord and Savior Brennan Bernardino. Well, I'm gonna get up some stats. Hold on. It's crazy because he gave up a grand slam to Aaron Judge.
Wait, was that last night? Because I heard something about a grand slam because they were up.
So
the Red Sox were up, but then they were down 5-3.
Right. Hold on a minute. Brennan, no, wrong player. Brennan Bernardino. Let's see. He had like an ERA coming into yesterday's game. He had like an ERA of like 2.60. Now it's in the 3.50s.
Shit. Okay.
After giving up a grand
He's
slam
been
to
bad.
Judge.
He's been bad. I feel like a lot of guys have not been playing well. Is there anyone who's been hot? Anyone?
Chris Martin. He's been unreal.
What about hitters? Any hitters?
I don't really know.
No?
Raphael has been hitting, but
Okay.
he has no approach. He just swings at everything.
Yeah.
That's what that you can look at his numbers. He doesn't strike, or he doesn't strike out. He doesn't walk either. He does not walk. He's walked like once.
All year his on base percentage I've thought has been too low, and he needs to get that up.
Yeah.
But
I
like
agree.
overall a good season. Definitely, I mean, one of the best all around seasons offensively for the Red Sox, which again, it's the offense. I've been looking at the stats. It's still pretty solid. They're in the top 10 in just about any category, offensive category you can think of. So, yeah, I mean, again, it remains the pitching that's an issue. It remains the defense that's an issue. It remains the fundamentals that's an issue. And I feel like a broken record here saying that those are the issues is with the team, and they're still hitting. So, again, all the more reason to get a new regime, get a new coaching staff, and
new voice,
new voice, and like have the GM do what he wants, like and have a bit more autonomy.
Right. This is going to be an interesting offseason. I thought with Bloom, we were just probably going to get one starter on the $10 million, a 1 year, $10 million.
A box of Cracker Jacks and a half-eaten ham sandwich, as Alex Rubenstein would say.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh,
yeah.
I call it the $10 million special.
Yeah.
That's actually what bastards of Boston baseball say. But anyways, that's off topic. Anything you want to say? We got to wrap up here because Zoom is awesome and only lets us record for 40 minutes.
Okay, so. But yeah, I think Chaim Bloom is a good start, and getting rid of him is a good start, step in the right direction. Let's keep that up. Let's keep going. Let's double down here. Let's not let's not be caught in between, because I feel like that's all what they've been doing lately. Just as an organization, kind of a little directionless. Get some new guys. Really get that new voice, because I think this team has potential. And let's go from here. And I don't know, maybe have a little fun towards the end of the season. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
But, like we always say, Nate, go Sox.
Those Sox.